So there is some Spider-Man 4 news. I already talked about it. I really want you to get into
Hmm.
it. I have some other things I didn't say that I kind of left out just specifically for this podcast to talk to you about. So Tom Holland ended up speaking on Spider-Man. I'm not going to read quote for quote again, but to make a long story short, he really changed his tone on Spider-Man. I know you remember because you and I talked about this before. He said after Spider-Man No Way Home that basically if he was still doing Spider-Man like in his 30s, then he was doing something wrong. And now he is saying that he can see himself being Spider-Man forever. Okay, and basically he also said that the Spider-Man 4 script looks really good and that they are making good traction on this, and he said that like what they are building is making him be more like intrigued to like reprising this role and being this character. How do you feel about Tom Holland like being positive and saying that, and also like what is your vision for Spider-Man 4?
So, first of all, I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I don't know how anyone couldn't. Having some problems with how the MCU handled Spider-Man. If you're a longtime Spider-Man fan and you love that grounded Spider-Man feel in some of the greatest Spider-Man comics, I get that. I do too. But when Tom Holland flip-flopped right after No Way Home and said, I'm not going to play Spider-Man anymore again. I want to play Spider-Man. It really reminded me of Daniel Craig before agreeing to do his last James Bond movie, No Time to Die. I'm a diehard Bond fan. That's what got me into all of this movie, fandom to begin with. I've been a diehard Bond fan since I've been a very young child. And Daniel Craig, for those of you who don't remember or don't know, he basically said, I'd rather slit my wrists than play James Bond again. And what did he do? He got a massive contract to play Bond one more time. And it was always my belief that he made those comments to secure a much bigger bag for the last movie. And I think that's what Tom Holland did. But I also think some things are different than in Tom Holland's case. I think that they've now said they are going to bring Miles Morales into the live action, and I think that the MCU doing a Miles Morales live action movie also makes for making Peter Parker Spider Man that much more iconic. Peter Parker Spider Man is going to get to be a part of, in Tom Holland's case, bringing Miles Morales, this relatively new character who, in the grand scheme of, comic book history, he hasn't been around for that long. A lot of these like major characters, Spider Man, Superman, Batman, it took decades on decades for them to get this kind of hype that Miles Morales has, and it's really something special that we're witnessing. And I don't know if everyone understands that. And I think that Tom Holland sees that and he's like, I want to be a part of that. And I'll also get to do that while doing my own Spider-Man movies and, developing this character that I've now been a part of for so long. And he sees it as a win all around. How could he not? And obviously, there's a lot of money attached to it. But, above all else, I think he sees it as cementing his Peter Parker as one of the most iconic movie characters of all time. While bringing in another one of the most iconic movie characters of all time. Because when all is said is done, Miles Morales' growth trajectory is absolutely insane. It's unlike anything we've ever seen before. And when it comes to what they're talking about in Spider-Man 4, and I've said this, I would be shocked if Venom is not the villain. I don't think that they're going to do the post-credit scenes that were in Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and Spider-Man No Way Home. To me, that's a clear tease. Like Venom is coming into a Spider-Man movie, And I think Venom is the perfect Spider-Man villain for a number of reasons. And that, really is, when it comes to the powers, they're pretty much identical. Yeah, it's symbiote instead of webs, but he could swing from his symbiote. He could climb up walls. He kind of looks like Spider-Man, except he's a little bulkier. He is also an anti-hero, so there's a complexity. He's not just a villain; he's a villain slash anti-hero. So there's a lot of complexity there with the character. And I just think that Venom is the most perfect Spider-Man villain, and we've only seen him against Spider-Man in one movie that was so long ago now. That was in 2007. So, we're talking about 16 years ago. And that's, I think, the most disliked Spider-Man movie of all of them. I think it's probably that one or The Amazing Spider-Man 2. So yeah, it definitely a win. And basically, listen, the guy sees a lot of action happening with Spider-Man, and it's only going to make his role that much more integral to the MCU and everything going on. And for him, when all is said and done, it's a pretty insane way to launch your Hollywood career, to be a part of something that special and that big.
Yeah, I mean, from Tom Holland's answer, it definitely means that he's in contract. Number one, I think he's going to get a really big contract. I'm saying like $500 million. I think he's getting like $500 million for what he's going to do. I think that man's going to do 2 more trilogies. I think it's going to go that deep. And I understand why he's young. Why not? And I do think that Miles Morales is going to surpass Peter in a lot of ways, mostly because Miles is he's Gen Z Spider-Man. He comes from a 2-parent home, not really broke, but then his dad ends up dying. And I think that's what I think that whole entire thing catapults Miles above Peter Parker. And I do think that like Miles, I just think that for the generation that we're in, he's just a very deep. There's a lot of like things to Miles as a character that I think that Peter Parker doesn't have.
And they added 2 major powers, invisibility and the electric venom. Like when you play the PlayStation Spider-Man games, it's more fun to play with Miles because of those powers. And I think that is going to make for maybe a more compelling story than Peter. And I'm a big Peter Parker fan. Don't get me wrong. But, Miles has some things going for him that Peter has not.
I agree. And so, in my personal opinion, I think that this is the perfect chance, right? Because I would honestly sit Ned down and I would sit MJ to the side. Like, obviously, still have MJ in the film, but I think this is the perfect time to bring in a new love interest for Peter. And I would bring in a new love interest just because we've seen him and MJ do this back and forth for the past like 3 movies, and I think Tom Holland's viewing this version of Spider-Man as a brand new character because he's kind of immersed into a brand new world. There's no AMA, there's no Tony Stark, there's no help. It's just him and his wit and his own smarts. So I think that they are really rebuilding this. I also do think the guy that wrote the Spider-Man films, I forget his name, the guy that directed and wrote them.
John Watts.
Yeah, John Watts. He did a terrible job with Spider-Man Far From Home. Movie was still good, but man, could have been so much better. And even in Spider-Man No Way Home, Mark Webb is like the worst pacer of movies ever. Okay, like he's terrible at pacing films. And I also think that like some of his content just sucks. Like even in a Spider-Man No Way Home, it kind of felt like to me before Andrew them came, the movie was just hella slow, and like there's just some things that I feel like another director could come in and fix. I would love someone like the Russos to take Spider-Man. In my opinion, like I think they'll be like the most perfect people to take a character like that. But whoever they choose, I hope that they like. I think they have whoever is directing, because we know that there's somebody behind there now. I think that's the main reason why Tom Holland is staying. And here is the rumor that I heard about the director of it. Guess who it is, bro?
Who?
Rumor.
Spider-Man 4.
Yeah, guess who? Kevin Feige.
No way. That would be
They
crazy.
said either Feige or John Favreau.
That would be epic.